Close your eyes for a moment and picture this: you're standing alone in the echoing chamber of an ancient temple, your footsteps bouncing off walls carved thousands of years ago. As you whisper a single word, something extraordinary happens. Your voice doesn't fade, it grows. It swirls around you, climbs to the highest vaults, then cascades back with eerie clarity, as if the stones themselves are answering. This wasn't magic, it wasn't an accident. It was the work of forgotten masters who shaped sound itself into a tool of awe, power, and connection. Welcome to the hidden world of acoustic architecture, where ancient civilizations didn't just build structures, they engineered experiences. Long before microphones or digital sound systems, cultures from Greece to the Americas designed spaces where whispers could travel hundreds of feet, where a single chant could shake an entire courtyard, where the very air seemed to vibrate with intention. These were the original sound engineers, and their secrets have been waiting in plain sight. Think about the last time you struggled to hear someone in a crowded room. Now imagine designing an entire building where every word spoken at the altar reaches the back row without amplification, where the hum of a ritual chant lingers just long enough to raise hairs on your neck. That's the precision we're talking about. From the whispering galleries of ancient Rome to the resonant chambers beneath Mayan pyramids, these spaces weren't just functional, they were transformative. They turned speech into spectacle, rituals into immersive theater, and leaders' voices into something bordering on divine. But how did cultures separated by oceans and centuries crack the code of acoustics without modern tools? And why did sound matter so deeply that they wove it into the very bones of their sacred spaces? That's the mystery we're unraveling today. This isn't just a story about clever construction. It's about how sound shaped human history. These echoes were messengers carrying prayers to the gods, commands to armies, and stories across generations. They were psychological weapons, spiritual conduits, and social glue. And here's the thrilling part: we're still discovering their secrets. Recent expeditions have uncovered chambers where the acoustics defy explanation, where the walls seem to remember and replay certain frequencies. It's as if these ancient architects left us a puzzle in stone and air, waiting for us to listen closely enough to solve it. So let's step into the shadows of these monumental spaces together, where every echo is a clue and every whisper from the past has something urgent to tell us. The stones are speaking. It's time we learned their language. To truly appreciate the genius of these ancient soundscapes, we need to step into the minds of the builders, people who worked without oscilloscopes or decibel meters, yet mastered the physics of sound through observation and intuition. Picture a ripple spreading across a pond. That's how sound travels: waves of pressure moving through air, bouncing off surfaces, merging or canceling each other out. Now imagine sculpting stone to control those ripples, shaping entire buildings into instruments. That's precisely what ancient architects did. They discovered that curved walls could catch whispers and hurl them across rooms like a thrown ball. They realized stepped surfaces like those in Greek theaters acted as natural amplifiers, breaking up sound waves so they wouldn't cancel each other before reaching the highest seats. Even the materials mattered. Limestone absorbed certain frequencies while reflecting others, creating echoes that felt alive. Take the famous Whispering Gallery in Rome's Pantheon. Stand at one end, murmur a word, and someone 50 feet away hears it clear as a bell. That's not luck, it's geometry. The dome's perfect hemisphere creates what scientists call a sound vortex, where waves travel along the curve without losing energy. Or consider Chichen Itza's El Castillo pyramid. Clap your hands at its base and the echo doesn't just repeat, it chirps back like the sacred Quetzal bird. Researchers found this happens because the steps are precisely spaced to scatter sound in a way that mimics nature. These aren't quirks, they're proof of deliberate design. What's even more astonishing, some of these techniques predate written language. In Malta's Hypogeum, a 6,000-year-old underground temple, certain chambers resonate at frequencies that literally vibrate human bone, creating sensations early worshippers might have attributed to divine presence. Modern acoustic scans reveal niches carved to trap and amplify specific tones, an ancient form of frequency tuning. Meanwhile, in Turkey, the rock-cut churches of Cappadocia have sound lenses, where domes focus voices onto altars like sunlight through a magnifying glass. This wasn't just about volume or clarity. These cultures understood sound's emotional power. A chant echoing through a dimly lit corridor feels supernatural. A leader's voice arriving from all directions at once feels omniscient. By bending acoustics to their will, ancient engineers didn't just build spaces, they orchestrated experiences, blurring the line between the physical and the spiritual. And as we'll see next when you walk through these sites today, the stones still remember their purpose. The moment you speak, you're not just hearing an echo, you're eavesdropping on a conversation with history itself. Power wasn't just taken in the ancient world, it was performed, and nothing performed like sound. Imagine standing in a crowded Roman basilica, shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of others, as the emperor rises to speak. His voice doesn't just reach you, it surrounds you, swelling from the walls and ceiling like thunder rolling down a mountain. It doesn't sound human, it sounds inevitable. That was no accident. These rulers didn't just build palaces and temples, they built psychological amplifiers, spaces where every word carried the weight of the divine. Take the Oracle of Delphi, where priestesses delivered prophecies in a chamber pulsing with strange echoes and intoxicating vapors rising from the earth. Pilgrims swore the voice they heard wasn't mortal, it echoed from deep underground, distorted just enough to feel otherworldly. Modern geologists found fissures beneath the temple releasing ethylene gas, which can induce trances. Combine that with a chamber designed to warp and amplify sound, and you have the perfect recipe for divine authority. The priestess didn't just speak, she became the mouthpiece of the gods, her words twisted by the very stones to sound supernatural. But it wasn't just about religion. Sound was political theater. In the stepped plazas of Teotihuacan, a single shout from the Temple of the Feathered Serpent could ripple across the entire city, making a ruler's command feel like it came from the sky itself. The Maya built their pyramids with staircases that turned handclaps into bird calls, linking their kings to the natural world's unseen forces. And in Egypt, the narrow passages of the Great Pyramid weren't just burial shafts. They were resonance chambers where chants at specific frequencies could vibrate the entire structure, making it hum like a colossal instrument. Here's what's fascinating. These techniques weren't lost to time. Walk into any modern cathedral, and you'll feel the same awe when a choir's notes linger in the air, impossibly sustained. Politicians still use hidden microphones to make their voices boom across crowds. The difference, ancient rulers didn't need technology. They had something better, an understanding of how sound shapes belief. When your voice echoes unnaturally long in a stone hall, when it seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, you're no longer just a person, you're a force. And that's why these spaces weren't just built to be heard, they were built to be obeyed. Now, let's listen even closer, because some of these ancient soundscapes didn't just amplify voices, they transformed them into something stranger. Hidden frequencies, tones that vibrate the body, even chambers that seem to remember sound and replay it centuries later. The deeper we go, the more it seems these architects weren't just engineers. They were composers writing symphonies in stone. Whispering galleries are more than architectural curiosities, they're living proof of ancient ingenuity. Take London's St. Paul's Cathedral, where a secret runs along the curve of its dome. Speak softly against one wall, and someone 100 feet away hears you as if you're standing beside them. This same phenomenon exists in Beijing's Temple of Heaven, where emperors once stood beneath its vaulted ceiling, their whispered prayers carried upward like smoke. But these marvels are just the tip of an iceberg, modern echoes of much older designs. The real magic lies in how these effects were achieved without a single equation or computer model. Ancient builders worked by ear and instinct, testing each curve and angle for its acoustic properties. In the Mayan city of Chichen Itza, the pyramid of Kukulkan doesn't just echo, it transforms sound. Clap your hands at its base, and the returning sound isn't a dull repetition. It's a sharp, bird-like chirp, mirroring the cry of the sacred Quetzal. Researchers discovered this happens because the pyramid's 4 staircases have precisely spaced steps that slice sound waves into distinct packets, creating that signature avian echo. This wasn't decorative, it was divine engineering, linking the ruler's voice to the spirit of the jungle itself. Then there's Malta's Hypogeum, a labyrinth carved from solid limestone 6,000 years ago. One chamber, known as the Oracle Room, does something no modern concert hall can replicate. Speak certain tones into its curved walls, and your voice doesn't just echo, it vibrates through your ribs at exactly 110 Hz, a frequency known to alter brain activity. Modern acousticians found niches carved at mathematically perfect intervals to trap and amplify these tones. Stand in that space when someone chants, and the sound doesn't feel like it's coming through your ears. It feels like it's rising from your bones. What unites these spaces isn't just their acoustic brilliance, but their purpose. These weren't party tricks. They were spiritual instruments. In China's Temple of Heaven, the circular echo wall wasn't built so lovers could whisper sweet nothings. It ensured the emperor's prayers to the celestial realm would travel unimpeded. The Hypogeum's vibrating chamber likely induced trance states during rituals, and Kukulkan's Quetzal echo, that was the voice of the feathered serpent god, confirming the king's divine right to rule. The precision still baffles experts. At St. Paul's, the whispering effect only works because the dome's curvature is flawless. Any imperfection would scatter the sound. The Mayans achieved their bird call echo with steps all exactly 30 centimeters high, a measurement they couldn't have confirmed without precise tools. And Malta's Hypogeum builders carved their resonating chambers using only stone tools, yet hit frequencies we now know affect human consciousness. Here's what's truly humbling: we're still uncovering their secrets. Recent laser scans of the Hypogeum revealed previously unknown shafts that funnel sound into its deepest chambers. Archaeologists in Turkey found that certain rock-cut churches have domes shaped like parabolic reflectors centuries before the mathematics describing such shapes existed. Each discovery suggests these ancient cultures didn't just stumble upon acoustic effects. They mapped them, refined them, and wove them into the fabric of their sacred spaces. The stones didn't just amplify sound, they transformed it into something transcendent. Now consider this: if they could achieve such feats with primitive tools, what else did they know about sound that we're only beginning to rediscover? Modern scientists are now studying these ancient techniques to design concert halls and medical resonance chambers. The past isn't just whispering to us, it's teaching us. And as we'll see next, some of these lessons are written not in stone, but in something even more surprising: the very landscape itself. The tools of ancient acoustic engineers weren't found in high-tech labs, but in the natural world itself. Stone, geometry, and an intimate understanding of how sound dances through space. Picture a Greek architect in the 4th century BCE, kneeling in the half-built theater of Epidaurus, tapping bronze vessels embedded beneath the seats. These weren't decorations, they acted like natural sound filters, absorbing distracting low frequencies while letting voices soar crystal clear to the highest tiers, even before the invention of acoustics as a science. Over in Egypt, priests meticulously tested limestone blocks by humming against their surfaces, selecting only those that produced the purest reverberations for temple walls. You can still hear their precision today whisper in the Karnak Temple's hypostyle hall, and your voice lingers for nearly 10 seconds, wrapping around the columns like mist. What's truly remarkable is how these cultures arrived at similar solutions across continents. The Mayans engineered their ball courts as giant sound amplifiers, with parallel walls channeling cheers and chants into a roaring wave. In India, the step wells of Chand Baori weren't just water reservoirs, their cascading staircases created natural echo chambers where even a dropped coin would ripple upward in a metallic chorus. And in Turkey, Byzantine builders mixed crushed pottery into mortar, creating lightweight domes that vibrated like drumheads to project chants across entire cities. Modern technology has only deepened the mystery. Laser scans of Malta's Hypogeum show its walls weren't just carved, they were tuned. Certain chambers resonate at exactly 110 Hz, a frequency known to synchronize brain waves and induce meditative states. The angles of these walls aren't random, they're calculated to bounce sound in spiraling paths, creating the illusion that voices emerge from the air itself. Even more astonishing, the builders achieved this with nothing but stone tools and an ear for harmony. These weren't crude experiments, they were systems. Greek theaters often placed reflective slabs beneath the stage to project actors' voices upward. Roman engineers lined amphitheaters with hollow clay jars, turning entire structures into giant resonators. And in China, the Temple of Heaven's circular echo wall uses its perfect curvature to carry whispers over 40 meters, a feat modern architects struggle to replicate without digital modeling. The real genius lies in how these techniques served each culture's unique needs. In Mesoamerica, where rulers communicated with gods through ritual sound, pyramids were designed to mimic natural phenomena like the Quetzal bird's cry. In Europe, where oration was power, theaters amplified every syllable of political speeches. And in sacred spaces worldwide, sound wasn't just heard, it was felt, vibrating through stone floors to literally move worshippers. We're only beginning to decode their full sophistication. Recent studies suggest some ancient sites used sound lenses, precisely curved surfaces that focus specific frequencies, like sunlight through a magnifying glass. Others show evidence of acoustic plaster, a lost recipe blending lime with resonant materials. Every discovery hints at a forgotten science, one that didn't separate physics from spirituality. For these builders, sound wasn't just waves in air, it was the voice of the earth itself, and they learned to sculpt it with nothing but stone, patience, and an ear for the unseen. Across the globe, ancient cultures shared an obsession harnessing sound to touch the divine. Take India's towering stupas, their dome shapes perfected not just for beauty, but resonance. Whisper a prayer inside the Sanchai stupa, and the sound spirals upward, amplified by the hollow core, as if carrying your words directly to the heavens. Meanwhile, in the Andes, the Chavín de Huántar temple complex hides a network of twisting stone tunnels. Blow a conch shell at the entrance, and the tunnels transform its fragile bleat into a deafening roar, a sound early worshippers might have believed was the voice of their jaguar deity. Archaeologists found evidence these sonic booms were timed with rituals, the vibrations shaking the ground under participants' feet, blurring the line between ceremony and sensory overwhelm. Then there's the Norse, who wove sound into their very cosmology. Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, carried a horn named Gjallarhorn, whose blast could be heard across the 9 realms. While this might seem like pure myth, recent digs in Scandinavia uncovered massive bronze horns called lurs buried in bogs, some over 3 meters long. When played, their deep tones carry for miles, suggesting ancient people knew how to weaponize sound's psychological impact. Imagine standing in a foggy fjord as that eerie note erupts from nowhere, shaking the air. Is it any wonder they believed such instruments could summon gods? Half a world away, Aboriginal Australians took a subtler approach. For over 40,000 years, they've used natural rock gong stones that ring like bells when struck to map sacred sites. Certain outcrops in the Kimberley region produce tones so pure, they seem to hum in harmony with the landscape. Elders still speak of song lines, invisible pathways across the land traced by ancestral songs, where the right combination of notes could open the earth's memory. Modern researchers found these songlines often align with natural acoustic hotspots, canyons that function as amplifiers, caves that stretch echoes into ghostly choirs. What unites these traditions isn't just technical skill, but a shared understanding. Sound could do what sight couldn't. A temple's grandeur might impress the eyes, but its whispers could infiltrate the soul. A king's statue declared his power, but a horn blast made it undeniable. And while modern science can measure frequencies and decibels, we've lost something these cultures understood instinctively: that sound isn't just physics. It's alchemy. It turns stone into voice, air into emotion, and empty space into a vessel for the sacred. Nowhere is this more evident than in our next stop, a site where the walls don't just echo, they sing. Hidden beneath a wind-swept Greek island lies an underground chamber so acoustically precise. It's been called the world's oldest synthesizer. Here, the ancients didn't just manipulate sound. They composed with it. Beneath the sun-baked streets of Malta lies a secret older than the pyramids, a labyrinth where sound doesn't just travel, it transforms. The Hypogeum of Halsaflieni isn't merely an underground tomb or temple. It's a carefully tuned instrument carved from solid limestone 5,000 years ago. Step into its so-called oracle chamber, and the air itself feels charged. Speak at the right pitch, and your voice doesn't echo, it multiplies, swelling into a low drone that vibrates through your ribs before pooling in the chamber's curved niches like liquid. This isn't an accident of architecture, it's alchemy. Modern acoustic scans reveal something startling. The chamber resonates most powerfully at 110 Hz, a frequency known to alter brain activity. Studies show this specific tone can induce theta waves, the same brain state associated with deep meditation or trance. Now picture a Neolithic priestess chanting here, her voice amplified by the stone until the very walls seem to hum back. To worshippers, it wouldn't have felt like technology, it would have felt like magic or divinity. The Hypogeum's builders didn't just shape rock, they weaponized resonance, turning sound into a bridge between worlds. But the real genius lies in the details. The oracle chamber's ceiling isn't smooth, it's studded with small, hemispherical cavities. At first glance, they look decorative. But when researchers played tones matching the room's natural frequency, these hollows acted like a prehistoric surround sound system, scattering vibrations so the sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. Even more eerie, the chamber's entrance passage is a perfect sound filter. High-pitched noises fade, while low chants gain strength as they travel, meaning only the deepest, most resonant voices would have reached the inner sanctum. This wasn't a space for casual conversation. It was engineered for revelation. Recent laser mapping uncovered another shock. hidden shafts branching from the main chambers, their angles too precise to be natural. When scientists sent sound pulses through them, they behaved like ancient audio cables channeling specific frequencies to distant rooms. One theory suggests priests might have used these tunnels to project oracular voices during rituals, making it seem as though the earth itself was speaking. What's humbling is how little we still understand. The Hypogeum's builders left no blueprints, no written records, just these whispering walls. Yet without modern tools, they mastered principles of acoustics we're only now rediscovering. Their work hints at a forgotten science, one where sound wasn't measured in decibels, but in its power to transcend. Today, as audio engineers study the Hypogeum to design concert halls, we're not just analyzing ancient tech. We're eavesdropping on a conversation with the sacred one that's been humming beneath our feet for millennia. Laser scans and acoustic modeling are cracking open a sonic time capsule, revealing how deeply sound was woven into the fabric of ancient life. Take the recent digital resurrection of Nesyamun, the Egyptian priest whose mummified vocal tract was scanned and recreated with a three-dimensional printer. When scientists sent air through the replica, out came a vowel-like tone, a ghostly echo of a voice silent for 3,000 years. This wasn't just a technical marvel. It exposed how the ancients valued preserving not just bodies, but the very timbre of human expression. Now imagine that same reverence for sound echoing through entire cities. Archaeologists using laser scans at Peru's Chavín de Huántar discovered something astonishing: a network of underground ducts designed to channel the roar of rushing water into the temple's heart. During rituals, priests could trigger a hydraulic system that turned these channels into a roaring soundscape, mimicking the growl of a jaguar deity. But here's what's revolutionary: these weren't isolated special effects. Recent acoustic maps of Mayan plazas show how ordinary homes were clustered around resonant limestone outcrops, turning daily conversations into carried whispers. Sound wasn't reserved for temples, it shaped market haggling, neighborhood gossip, even the way parents called children home. Digital reconstructions of Stonehenge reveal another layer. By modeling how sound waves would have interacted with its original bluestone circle, researchers found the arrangement created a natural sound cage. Drummers positioned inside could produce rhythms that seemed to emanate from the landscape itself, with certain stones amplifying low frequencies to vibrate the ground. This wasn't just ritual theater, it was social engineering. Gatherings here wouldn't just be seen or heard, they'd be felt in the chest, bypassing logic to tap straight into collective emotion. The cutting edge of this research lies in spectral analysis. At Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, archaeologists used microphones to capture the acoustic fingerprints of its carved pillars. They discovered T-shaped stones with fluted edges that scatter sound like modern diffusers, while circular chambers focus specific frequencies onto central platforms. These findings suggest something profound. The world's oldest known temple might have been designed as much for listening as for worship. But perhaps the most intimate discovery comes from Pompeii, where plaster casts of voids left by decomposed furniture revealed an unexpected detail: resonant chambers built into Roman beds. These hollow spaces, often lined with bronze strips, subtly amplified whispers between couples while muffling private conversations from slaves. Even in rest, sound was curated. What emerges isn't just a collection of clever tricks, but a paradigm shift. We used to study ancient cultures through artifacts and texts. Now we're learning to listen to them, to reconstruct the hum of a marketplace, the cadence of a forgotten language, the precise acoustics that made a king's command feel inevitable. These weren't silent civilizations, they were virtuosos of vibration, conducting symphonies in stone whose echoes we're only now tuning our ears to hear. And the implications ripple outward. Modern architects are studying Mayan plaza acoustics to design hospitals where healing sounds travel farther. Concert halls now incorporate Greek theater vessel techniques to balance resonance. Even urban planners are revisiting the Roman idea of sound zoning, using materials and angles to create auditory sanctuaries in noisy cities. The past isn't just speaking to us. It's offering solutions we forgot we needed. Public spaces in the ancient world weren't just built for beauty or function. They were carefully tuned instruments of social control, where every echo and whisper served a purpose. Walk through the bustling markets of Rome, and you'd find colonnades doing more than providing shade. Their evenly spaced columns acted like a natural sound diffuser, breaking up the chaotic noise of bartering merchants and clattering carts into a manageable hum. Meanwhile, in Greek agoras, speakers climbed atop stepped platforms not just to be seen, but to harness physics, their voices bouncing off the stone tiers to reach hundreds without strain. This wasn't accidental. It was acoustic design as social architecture, shaping how people interacted, who could be heard, and what information spread. Even private life resonated with intention. Step inside a Pompeian villa, and you'd notice the gentle murmur of water features, not just for decoration, but as ancient white noise machines. These cascades masked whispered conversations from prying ears, especially in dining rooms where politics and scandal were discussed. Wealthy homes often placed their central atriums beneath vaulted ceilings that amplified the host's voice during gatherings, while muffling servants' movements through strategically placed curtains and alcoves. Sound wasn't just managed, it was weaponized for privacy and power. The scale of this manipulation grows clearer when you examine crowd control. Roman amphitheaters like the Colosseum didn't just rely on steep seating for visibility. The angled stands created a sound funnel, channeling the roar of the crowd away from the arena floor so gladiators could hear their handlers' command. Conversely, the circular design of smaller Odia ancient performance halls used curved walls to amplify actors' voices while trapping sound inside, preventing disruptions to nearby temples or courts. Even streets were engineered for acoustics. Ephesus marble-paved Curate Street sloped downward, so announcements from the upper agora rolled like auditory waves through the city. But the most cunning designs blurred the line between utility and psychology. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats were flanked by weeping staircases, steps with hidden cavities that produced eerie, discordant echoes when walked upon. Historians believe these sounds marked sacred thresholds, triggering instinctive awe as worshippers ascended. Similarly, Byzantine market inspectors would station themselves beneath ceramic-lined arches that acted like primitive parabolic microphones, capturing snippets of conversations from stalls 30 feet away. These weren't just clever tricks, they were tools of surveillance and social order, proving that long before wiretaps, architecture itself could listen. Yet for all its sophistication, this mastery of sound had a darker edge. The same techniques that carried a senator's speech could also distort truth, bending voices to deceive or intimidate. In the next chapter, we'll uncover how ancient power structures turned acoustics into a weapon where whispers became surveillance, echoes forged propaganda, and the very walls seemed to conspire against dissent. The stones didn't just amplify sound, they amplified control. Sound wasn't just a tool for awe or communication, it could be a weapon, sharpened to shatter nerves and bend minds. Picture an Aztec sacrificial ceremony under the smothering heat of midday. The victim's heart might end the ritual, but the terror began with sound. Conch shell horns, carved to mimic the rasping growl of a jaguar, would erupt from unseen corners of the temple complex. To the assembled crowd, it wasn't just noise, it was the voice of the gods themselves, shaking the air with guttural fury. This wasn't spectacle, It was psychological warfare designed to paralyze dissent with primal fear. The Aztecs weren't alone in their acoustic arsenal. Deep beneath Cappadocia's rocky plains, the sprawling Derinkuyu underground city hid a sonic trap. Intruders creeping through its narrow tunnels would find their own footsteps amplified, their presence betrayed by echoes that ricocheted ahead like alarm bells. Defenders could pinpoint invaders long before they were seen, turning the very walls into sentinels. Even more unsettling are the legends of screaming statues from lost cities across the Americas and Mediterranean monuments, rigged with hidden pipes or vents that howled when wind struck them just right. Whether myth or lost technology, these stories reveal a universal truth. Ancient cultures understood sound's power to unsettle, disorient, and dominate. But perhaps the most chilling examples come from the battlefield. Roman legions didn't just march in formation. They clashed their shields in unison, creating a metallic roar that rolled toward enemies like an audible tidal wave. Greek armies used bronze helmets with cheek guards designed to funnel and amplify war cries, making 50 soldiers sound like 500. And in Southeast Asia, temple bells weren't just for rituals, they were struck during sieges, their dissonant clangs intentionally tuned to disrupt concentration and sow chaos. What makes these techniques so effective isn't just volume, it's manipulation. A sudden, directionless echo in a dark tunnel triggers instinctive dread. A jaguar's snarl spliced into human ceremony blurs the line between beast and deity. These cultures weren't just making noise, they were hacking the human nervous system, exploiting how our brains prioritize certain frequencies as threats. Low, rumbling tones vibrate the sternum, triggering fight or flight responses. Dissonant harmonics like those from Aztec death whistles activate the same neural pathways as a baby's cry, ensuring visceral discomfort. Yet this dark artistry had a sacred counterpart. The same principles that terrified also transported, carrying voices across the thin veil between earth and the divine. Next, we'll hear how priests and mystics sculpted sound into bridges to the beyond, where whispers weren't weapons, but invitations. There's a reason certain chants feel like they're vibrating through your bones rather than just hitting your ears. From Tibetan monks producing 3 notes simultaneously with their throats to Benedictine choirs whose unison plainsongs make candle flames flicker in unison, these aren't just musical traditions, they're precision-tuned technologies of consciousness. At Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest known temple, something extraordinary happens when you hum at 110 Hz near its central pillars. The entire structure seems to answer, the carved animals on the stones appearing to ripple as the vibration syncs with the flicker rate of human peripheral vision. This isn't mysticism, it's neuroscience in stone. Modern labs have measured what ancient practitioners discovered through trial and error. When the human brain encounters rhythmic chanting at frequencies between 90 and 110 Hz, something remarkable occurs. Brain waves begin synchronizing to the external rhythm, a phenomenon called entrainment. Stress hormones drop. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of analytical thinking, quietens, while regions associated with transcendence and creativity light up. It's the same neural shift achieved by seasoned meditators after decades of practice, yet accessible to anyone standing in the right acoustic environment. The builders of Göbekli Tepe carved their pillars to resonate at precisely this gateway frequency, 1100 years before the invention of writing. But the real magic lies in how differently cultures arrived at identical solutions. In the Andes, shamans still use conch shells tuned to 96 Hz, the same resonant frequency as human lungs, to guide breathing into trance states. Celtic druids positioned their chanting stones where crashing waves produced a constant 110 Hz drone in sea caves below. Even the Hebrew Kavanah prayers were traditionally recited at a pitch that made synagogue lamps vibrate visibly, creating the illusion of divine presence through perfectly timed acoustics. These parallels can't be coincidence. They suggest a lost universal science, an understanding that certain sounds don't just enter our ears, they rewrite our neural pathways. What's even more fascinating is how these practices birthed music as we know it. The earliest known musical instrument, a 43,000-year-old bone flute found in Germany, plays notes that align with the resonant frequencies of small caves. Gregorian chant evolved from attempts to mimic the reverberations of early Christian catacombs. Even the pentatonic scale, found in musical traditions from China to Peru, matches the harmonic series produced when striking stones at sacred sites. It's as if music wasn't invented, but discovered an eternal vibration hidden in stone and bone, waiting for us to learn its language. Now listen closer. Because the next chapter in this story isn't carved in temples or written in scrolls. It's pulsing through your bloodstream right now. The same frequencies that once induced visions still hum beneath every song you've ever loved, every chord that's ever raised your hairs. The ancients didn't just use sound to reach the divine. They proved the divine was always there, vibrating in the air between us, waiting to be heard. The oldest musical instrument ever discovered tells a story far deeper than melody. It reveals how ancient ears first decoded nature's hidden symphonies. In Germany's Hohlfels cave, a vulture bone flute dating back 43,000 years still carries the fingerprints of its maker. Blow across its 5 carefully drilled holes today, and the notes that emerge don't just mimic birdsong. They replicate the exact intervals crows used to warn of predators, a sound our ancestors would have known signaled danger. This wasn't entertainment. It was survival technology, harnessing sound's power to communicate across distances before language existed. Yet within millennia, that primal tool evolved into something transcendent. In Greece, the Epidaurus theater didn't just amplify actors. Its hidden bronze vessels acted like prehistoric equalizers, dampening wind noise while enhancing the lyre's shimmering strings. Chinese archaeologists found jade chimes in royal tombs tuned to pentatonic scales, their tones matching the resonant frequencies of nearby mountain caves. And in Mesopotamia, the 3,400-year-old Hurrian hymn etched onto clay tablets wasn't just music. Its rising and falling intervals mirror the intonation of Sumerian prayer, suggesting melody was first a vessel for sacred words, lifting them toward the divine. What's astonishing is how globally these innovations paralleled each other. Mayan musicians filled hollow ceramic flutes with water to create warbling vibrato, mimicking the Quetzal bird's mating call. Celtic tribes crafted massive bronze horns called carnixes, their animal-shaped bells projecting roars that carried for miles. Even ancient Australians played didgeridoos not just for rhythm. The instrument's droning overtones were believed to map invisible song lines across the landscape. Each culture independently discovered that stretched hides, hollow reeds, and vibrating strings could freeze fleeting sound into something tangible, repeatable, sacred. But the real breakthrough came when these sounds escaped ritual and took on lives of their own. The Greeks theorized musical modes could alter human emotion: Dorian for courage, Phrygian for ecstasy. Hindu ragas were composed to bloom at specific hours, their notes aligning with circadian rhythms. And in Egypt, temple musicians tuned their harps to the pitch of particular hieroglyphs, believing certain harmonies could animate stone. This was more than art. It was applied neuroscience millennia before we had the words to describe it. Now consider this: when modern luthiers built replicas of King Tut's trumpets, they discovered the thin bronze tubes produced tones that matched the resonant frequency of the pyramid's burial chambers. Coincidence or evidence that ancient musicians didn't just play for the living, they performed for the dead, crafting sounds meant to transcend time itself. Which raises an even more tantalizing question. If a bone flute could last 43,000 years, what other sonic secrets might still be waiting, silent but intact, for us to rediscover? Some mysteries of ancient acoustics defy even modern science, not because they were primitive, but because their sophistication outstrips our expectations. Take those cryptic carvings in Egypt's Dendera temple, showing priests holding what look like giant light bulbs. For decades, theorists debated whether they depicted electricity. But acousticians noticed something else. The bulb's shapes match ceramic vessels found nearby, vessels that hum at specific frequencies when struck. Combine that with temple inscriptions describing the raising of stones by hidden voices, and a wild possibility emerges. Could these priests have used sound waves to levitate blocks during construction? Experiments with ultrasonic levitation show it's theoretically possible, though we've never scaled it to pyramid-sized objects. The real question isn't just how, but why did the knowledge vanish? Then there's Vitruvius, the Roman engineer who casually mentioned rotating bronze discs beneath theater stages. Panels crews could turn to adjust reverberation during performances. Archaeologists found traces of these mechanisms in Pompeii's ruins, grooved tracks suggesting movable acoustic dampeners, like an ancient version of flipping a reverb switch. The precision is staggering. Modern concert halls spend millions to achieve what Roman technicians did with counterweights and geometry. Yet not a single complete disc survives, leaving us with only fragments of the blueprint. Most tantalizing is the so-called Baghdad battery, a clay jar with an iron rod and copper cylinder dating back 2,000 years. Mainstream archaeology dismisses it as a storage vessel, but when filled with acidic grape juice, it produces enough current to power a small speaker. Could the Parthians have stumbled upon electroacoustics? We may never know because the context of its discovery was lost during wartime looting. These gaps haunt researchers. The ancient world clearly possessed acoustic knowledge that flickered out like a dying echo, knowledge possibly lost in library fires, erased by conquest, or hidden in still undeciphered scripts. Even when we find clues, like the harmonic patterns in Inca mortarless masonry that keep earthquake-proof walls humming in tune, we're left reverse engineering effects without understanding intent. Now time itself is silencing these echoes. Rising humidity in Maya ruins is altering the resonance of limestone plazas. Acid rain eats away at Greek theaters' bronze reflectors. And as seismic shifts nudge ancient walls millimeter by millimeter, their carefully tuned frequencies drift out of alignment. We're in a race against entropy, trying to record these sonic fingerprints before they fade forever. Because once they're gone, we're not just losing sound, we're losing a language of vibration that once bridged earth and sky. The whispers of antiquity are growing fainter every year, not from the passage of time, but from the relentless march of modernity. At Malta's Hypogeum, where voices once resonated with supernatural clarity, rising humidity from increased tourism has dulled the chamber's legendary 110 Hz hum. The limestone walls, once precisely tuned by Neolithic hands, now absorb sound like a sponge, their crystalline pores clogged by moisture and microscopic pollutants. Across the Mediterranean, the Temple of Zeus in Cyprus suffers a similar fate. Where ancient worshippers once heard the god's voice rumble through the columns during storms, centuries of acid rain have eroded the stone's resonant properties, leaving only the ghost of an echo. Even the Great Pyramid's subterranean chambers, designed to amplify chants into earth-shaking drones, now struggle to sustain a whisper above the vibrations of Cairo's traffic. This isn't just decay, it's the unraveling of an invisible cultural tapestry. Like a vinyl record left in the sun, these sites are losing their grooves, their once vibrant soundscapes flattening into silence. Conservationists now wield laser scanners and 3D audio mapping like emergency room tools, racing to capture these acoustic fingerprints before they vanish entirely. In Scotland, teams have recorded the Callanish Stone's eerie ring at different wind speeds, creating a digital archive of tones that may soon exist only in simulations. At Chavín de Huántar, hydrophones document how the temple's ancient water ducts once transformed trickles into roaring jaguar growls, a feat modern climate change has muted as nearby glaciers retreat. Yet there's hope in the cracks. Some sites still sing if you know when and how to listen. Visit Greece's Epidaurus Theatre at dawn before the crowds arrive, and you'll catch the famous pin drop effect in its purest form, a testament to its undiminished acoustics. In Mexico, the spring equinox at Chichen Itza transforms the pyramid staircase into a serpent's rattle as the angle of the sun amplifies the Quetzal bird echo. Even urban sprawl can't drown out all the magic. Beneath Istanbul's bustling streets, the Basilica Cistern's vaulted ceilings still turn whispers into thunderclaps, just as they did for Byzantine emperors plotting in its shadows. The key is patience and timing. Arrive early or stay late when crowds thin and the air settles. Place your hand against the stones. You'll often feel vibrations before you hear them. And don't just listen for loud echoes. Tune your ear to the subtle frequencies, the way certain notes linger half a second longer than others, or how the space seems to push sound towards specific spots. These nuances are the real signatures of ancient acoustic genius. Technology offers another lifeline. Apps like Ancient Acoustic Trails overlay augmented reality soundscapes onto crumbling ruins, letting you hear the Hypogeum's original resonance through headphones as you stand in its chambers. Universities are compiling open-source databases of these recordings, ensuring that even if the stones fall silent, their voices won't be lost, because what's at stake isn't just historical curiosity, it's proof that millennia ago, humans didn't just build for the eye. They composed for the ear, crafting spaces where sound could bend reality itself. And if we listen closely enough in these fading echoes, we might just recover a forgotten way of hearing the world. If you're ready to experience these acoustic wonders firsthand, start your journey at India's Gol Gumbaz, a 17th century mausoleum where whispers circle the dome's inner balcony 38 meters above like ghostly relay runners. Stand in the exact center of the chamber, clap once, and the sound ricochets 7 times before fading, a phenomenon so precise it was used to secretly pass messages between guards. Then head to Guatemala's Tikal, where the Great Plaza transforms into a natural amplifier at dawn. As mist rises between the temples, a single shout bounces off the limestone facades, creating overlapping echoes that mimic the roar of ancient crowds. Even nature gets in on the act. The Kelso Dunes in California's Mojave Desert produce a haunting musical hum when sand avalanches down their slopes, while Morocco's singing dunes vibrate with an eerie bass note underfoot. But timing is everything. At Stonehenge, modern researchers discovered the blue stones ring like giant bells when struck, a secret only revealed during rare humidity conditions at summer solstice. Similarly, Turkey's Çatalhöyük lets you hear its 9,000-year-old acoustics just twice daily, when sunlight hits mud brick walls at angles that amplify whispers between ancient dwelling cells. Some sites demand extra reverence. Peru's Chavín de Huántar now limits visitors to small groups after studies showed footfall vibrations were dulling its iconic conch shell echoes. Here's how to become a sonic archaeologist. Carry a tuning fork to test resonant frequencies, or download apps that map echo patterns through your phone's microphone. Early mornings often reveal the clearest acoustics before heat and crowds scatter sound waves. And don't just listen, feel. Press your palms against stones at sites like Newgrange. The vibrations traveling up your arms often carry more information than airborne echoes. The real magic happens when you move beyond famous landmarks. That forgotten medieval chapel in the French countryside, its vaulted ceiling might transform your humming into a Gregorian chant. The dry stone sheepfold in Wales, it could be hiding Bronze Age sound mirrors. Every culture left acoustic breadcrumbs, you just need to know how to follow them. Which brings us to the ultimate question. If ancient builders could shape sound with stone and intuition, what could we achieve by rediscovering their secrets today? Ancient acoustic wisdom isn't locked away in ruins. It's reshaping the modern world in ways you might not expect. Walk into the world's newest concert halls, like Copenhagen's Der Concerthuset, and you'll find engineers borrowing directly from the Greeks. Its undulating wooden walls aren't just artistic, they're modeled after the stepped seating of Epidaurus, scattering sound waves to create that same crystalline clarity audiences marveled at 2,000 years ago. Even more striking, hospitals are getting in on the act. Neonatal units in Sweden now feature ceilings with the same sound-diffusing niches as Malta's Hypogeum, helping premature babies thrive by bathing them in frequencies proven to lower stress hormones. The past isn't just inspiring designers, it's healing us. But you don't need $1 million renovation to tap into this legacy. That stack of books gathering dust in your living room. Arrange them unevenly, and they'll break up sound waves exactly like the geometric patterns in Spain's Alhambra Palace. Notice how your voice sounds warmer in the bathroom. That's the same principle Byzantine builders used in Hagia Sophia's domes, curved surfaces that soften harsh echoes. Even your smartphone holds potential. Apps like Ancient Echo use your phone's microphone to analyze room acoustics, then suggest furniture placements mimicking Mayan ball courts, sound bouncing parallel walls. Suddenly, your home office could have the vocal clarity of a Roman Senate chamber. The most transformative applications, though, lie in wellness. Sound therapists from Bali to Brooklyn now use 110 Hz tones, the Hypogeum's magic frequency, to help patients with anxiety and PTSD. Bioacoustic researchers found this specific vibration relaxes the nervous system as effectively as meditation, proving ancient priests might have been onto something more than ritual. Even urban planners are listening. Cities like Lisbon now embed resonant pavement stones in noisy districts, borrowing from Roman cobblestone techniques that naturally dampened cart rumble. Yet for all these breakthroughs, misconceptions linger. Some claim these ancient acoustics were accidental or that modern tech makes them obsolete. But when audio engineers tried to improve the Epidaurus theater with hidden speakers, they failed. The original design outperformed every digital tweak. Others dismiss frequency healing as pseudoscience, ignoring clinical studies showing Gregorian chant rhythms slow heart rates. The truth, our ancestors didn't just stumble upon these effects. They refined them over generations, turning observation into an exact science we're only beginning to decode. So the next time you rearrange your space or play music at home, remember, you're not just decorating. You're composing. Every bookshelf, every arched doorway, every strategically placed rug is part of an invisible symphony, conducting sound the way the ancients taught us. And as we'll see next, separating the facts from the fairy tales reveals just how intentional and revolutionary their acoustic mastery truly was. Separating ancient acoustic achievements from modern myths requires a clear ear, not every echo in an old ruin was placed there by design. Take the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon, often described as having waterfalls that created harmonic resonance across terraces. While it's a poetic image, archaeologists have yet to find physical evidence of the gardens, let alone their supposed sonic properties. The same goes for the Colossus of Rhodes. No surviving accounts mention the statue emitting a mysterious hum, despite viral claims. Even the Nazca lines, those vast desert geoglyphs in Peru, get wrapped in acoustic lore. Some suggest their trenches acted as sound mirrors, channeling whispers across miles. But when researchers tested this, the results were inconclusive at best. These stories persist because they're thrilling, but they risk overshadowing the verified marvels right in front of us. That's not to say every unexplained echo is a fluke. Sometimes myth and science intersect in surprising ways. The Oracle chamber in Malta's Hypogeum really does amplify certain frequencies, but early visitors exaggerated its effects, claiming it could make voices emanate from thin air. Modern tools let us pinpoint the truth. The chamber's resonance is deliberate, just not supernatural. Similarly, Greek theaters weren't designed to project whispers from the stage to the back row. That's a romanticized twist. What they did achieve, though, was balancing clarity and reverberation so perfectly that unamplified actors could reach thousands without strain. The reality is impressive enough without the embellishment. The danger of overhyping these legends, it distracts from the genuine breakthroughs happening right now. Archaeoacoustics is a young field, and every month brings new discoveries, like the recent finding that certain Inca walls hum when struck because their mortarless joints vibrate at musical intervals. Or the revelation that medieval Gothic cathedrals used ribbed vaults not just for support, but to scatter choir harmonics like a natural soundboard. These aren't speculative tales, they're measurable phenomena backed by laser scans and spectral analysis. So how do we navigate the noise? Start with skepticism, but stay curious. When you hear a claim about ancient sonic magic, ask for the evidence. Was the effect documented in primary sources? Can it be replicated under controlled conditions? Often, you'll find the truth is subtler and more fascinating than the myth. For instance, the singing statues of Egypt weren't rigged with hidden pipes as some fantasize. Instead, they were placed in wind corridors where desert breezes whistled through crevices, creating eerie vocal effects. That's not wizardry, it's clever engineering. This isn't about debunking for its own sake. It's about honoring the past by seeing it clearly. The real genius of ancient acousticians wasn't in defying physics, but in mastering it with such intimacy that their work still baffles us today. And now, as we turn to the researchers pushing this field into the future, their tools might finally help us hear the past as it truly was. No myths, no exaggerations, just the unfiltered voice of history. Miriam Kohler kneels in the thin air of Peru's Andes, her microphone array capturing something extraordinary. A 3,000-year-old conch shell trumpet, when blown, doesn't just produce sound. It bends it. The surrounding architecture acts like a sonic funnel, channeling the blast into narrow stone ducts that transform its lonely wail into a chorus of unearthly voices. This isn't just an artifact, it's a sound portal, a deliberate bridge between worlds. Kohler's recordings reveal how Chavín de Huántar's priests orchestrated rituals where participants didn't just hear the divine. They felt it in their bones as vibrations from hidden water channels merged with trumpet blasts to mimic the roar of their jaguar deity. Her work proves these weren't random effects. They were engineered experiences as precise as any modern concert hall, only their goal wasn't entertainment. It was transcendence. Meanwhile, historian David Hendy listens to a different kind of echo, the social reverberations of sound across millennia. In his book Noise, he traces how the acoustic landscapes of ancient cities shaped human behavior long before written laws. Take Rome's Cloaca Maxima. This vast sewer didn't just carry waste, its hollow arches amplified the footsteps of patrolling guards, turning infrastructure into an auditory surveillance system. Or consider the Greek agora, where the strategic placement of water clocks created rhythmic interruptions in speeches, subtly guiding public debate. Hendy argues that sound wasn't just background noise for these societies. It was an invisible hand sculpting everything from commerce to crowd control. What unites these researchers is their toolkit. Kohler uses laser scans to map how Chavin's labyrinthine corridors steer sound waves into hotspots where voices gain uncanny presence. Hendy combats medieval manuscripts for descriptions of vanished soundscapes, like the singing chains that once hung in Constantinople's Hagia Sophia, their metallic hum believed to ward off evil spirits. Musicologists, meanwhile, decode notations etched into Mesopotamian clay tablets, reconstructing harmonies that haven't been heard for 3,000 years. Together, they're proving that ancient acoustics weren't accidents. They were a language, one we're only now learning to read. Yet for every breakthrough, a deeper mystery lingers. In Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, pillars carved with acoustic wave patterns predate agriculture itself. What urgent message did these hunter-gatherers need to amplify? In Cambodia, Angkor Wat's galleries seem designed to distort the human voice into eerie harmonics, yet no inscriptions explain why. And beneath Orkney's Neolithic tombs, low-frequency resonances suggest these spaces weren't just for the dead, they were instruments, vibrating at frequencies known to alter consciousness. The stones are still speaking. The question is, are we ready to hear what they've been trying to tell us? Even as we uncover the acoustic genius of ancient cultures, some puzzles refuse to stay silent. Why do only certain Mayan pyramids transform handclaps into the cry of the sacred Quetzal bird, while others stand mute? What secrets might still hum within the Great Pyramid's hidden chambers, where narrow shafts align with celestial events and unexplained resonance pockets linger? These aren't just academic curiosities, they're sonic time capsules, waiting for the right tools to crack them open. Enter the new frontier of acoustic archaeology, where artificial intelligence listens where human ears fail. Teams are now training AI to analyze millennia-old structures for subtle frequency patterns, revealing designs invisible to the naked eye. At Guatemala's Tikal, machine learning detected faint echo signatures in temple plazas that match the harmonic series of Mayan ceremonial drums, proof that entire cities might have been tuned like instruments. Meanwhile, inside Egypt's bent pyramid, LiDAR scans uncovered a network of narrow channels that don't match any known architectural function. When researchers fed the dimensions into acoustic modeling software, the system suggested these passages could amplify specific vowel sounds at ritual frequencies. The stones are whispering their secrets to algorithms, but you don't need a PhD to join this hunt. Citizen science projects like Echoes of the Past recruit gamers and audio enthusiasts to map virtual soundscapes of reconstructed ruins. Using crowdsourced data, volunteers have already pinpointed previously overlooked acoustic hotspots in Roman amphitheaters, spots where a single actor's sigh could reach the cheap seats. Other initiatives harness smartphone apps to collect real-world echo data from lesser-known sites, creating a global database of ancient acoustics. Imagine swiping your phone in a Welsh stone circle and instantly contributing to research that might rewrite history. The most tantalizing questions remain wide open. Why do some Andean temples vibrate at frequencies known to induce trances, while nearby structures dampen sound entirely? Could the mysterious copper-lined boxes found beneath Mesopotamian ziggurats have been primitive resonance chambers? Every breakthrough spawns new mysteries. When acoustic scans revealed that Malta's Hypogeum amplifies male voices more than female, it sparked debates about gender roles in Neolithic rituals. Similarly, the discovery that certain Greek theaters subtly distorted pitch to make actors sound more authoritative hints at ancient sound manipulation, acoustic propaganda etched in stone. What's clear is this: we've barely scratched the surface. As 3D printing lets researchers test replica structures at different scales, and quantum microphones promise to capture vibrations trapped in ancient materials, the field is evolving faster than textbooks can keep up. The next decade may reveal whether the legends are true. If places like the Oracle of Delphi really did warp voices into divine pronouncements, or if the eerie hum of Newgrange's passage tomb was engineered to mimic the afterlife. One thing's certain: the past has more to say, and we're finally learning how to listen. Want to be part of this sonic revolution? Grab your phone, visit a local ruin, and start recording. That echo you capture might be the clue that unlocks an ancient culture's lost soundtrack. After all, history isn't just written in ink and stone, it's etched in air, waiting for anyone with the curiosity to press play. You don't need a lab coat or a doctorate to become an acoustic archaeologist, just a smartphone and a sense of curiosity. Apps like Echoes of the Past are turning everyday explorers into citizen scientists, inviting anyone with a device to capture and upload sound recordings from historic sites. Imagine standing in the ruins of a Roman theater, clapping your hands once, and instantly contributing that echo pattern to a global database. These crowdsourced snapshots help researchers track how humidity, erosion, and even foot traffic subtly alter ancient acoustics over time. It's like a living archive of vanishing soundscapes, pieced together by thousands of ears around the world. But the research doesn't stop at recordings. Universities now enlist volunteers to test how different materials interact with sound, like tapping replicas of Mayan limestone blocks with mallets, or humming into 3D printed models of Gothic vaults. These experiments reveal why certain stones amplify whispers while others swallow them whole. Even seemingly unrelated details, like graffiti carved into theater walls, hold clues. Ancient performers often etched markings at acoustic sweet spots, subtle arrows or circles indicating where to stand for perfect projection. Modern visitors photographing these carvings help map forgotten stagecraft techniques. The beauty of this movement: it democratizes discovery. A school teacher in Portugal noticed her voice carried strangely near a medieval well. Her upload led researchers to identify a previously unknown sound mirror. A teenager in Japan recorded eerie harmonics in a buried corridor of Heimji Castle, prompting acousticians to investigate its resonance with lunar tides. These aren't just isolated moments, they're fragments of a larger puzzle, showing how deeply sound was woven into daily life. Yet this isn't just about preserving the past. The data collected by citizen scientists is inspiring modern innovations. Architects study crowd-mapped echo patterns to design quieter classrooms, while audio engineers borrow ancient diffusion techniques for concert halls. There's even a hospital in Barcelona testing Hypogeum-inspired frequencies in recovery rooms, hoping to speed healing. The echoes of antiquity aren't relics, they're blueprints for a future where sound isn't just heard, but harnessed with the same intentionality our ancestors mastered. So why does this matter now? Because every time we listen closely to these ancient spaces, we're not just uncovering lost technology, we're rediscovering a lost relationship with sound. In a world drowning in noise pollution and disposable headphones, these echoes remind us that sound was once sacred. It shaped cities, dictated rituals, and connected communities across generations. And with each recording uploaded, each experiment shared, we're not just documenting history, we're learning to listen to the world the way they did, with wonder and purpose. Sound wasn't just something ancient cultures heard, it was how they thought. The acoustic fingerprints left in stone tell us more about these civilizations than any history book ever could. Take the stark contrast between Greek theaters and Mayan pyramids. Those sweeping semicircular steps of Epidaurus weren't just about fitting crowds. They reflected a society obsessed with democratic debate, where every citizen's voice needed to carry with perfect clarity. Meanwhile, the distorted echoes bouncing through Chichen Itza's chambers reveal a culture comfortable with mystery, where leaders spoke not with transparent frankness but through layers of sonic symbolism, their words transforming like the sacred Quetzal bird mid-flight. This goes beyond architecture, it's about worldview. Roman amphitheaters amplified the roar of the crowd because communal participation defined their identity. Hindu temples tuned their pillars to drone at meditative frequencies because introspection shaped their spiritual practice. Even the placement of medieval church bells followed precise acoustic geography, marking not just time but territory, their peals mapping the boundaries between sacred and secular space. These weren't aesthetic choices, they were philosophical statements carved in resonance. Today, we've inverted this relationship with sound. Modern cities bombard us with chaotic noise, jackhammers, car horns, the relentless ping of notifications, while ancient spaces remind us that sound was once curated with intention. There's wisdom in that difference. Studies show people in spaces with thoughtful acoustics, classrooms where voices carry without strain, hospitals where healing tones mask mechanical noises experience less stress, better focus, even faster recovery. The ancients knew this instinctively. They designed environments where sound didn't just happen to you, it worked for you. Nowhere is this legacy more alive than in Denver's International Airport. Most travelers rush past its Jeppesen terminal without realizing they're standing in a modern Oracle chamber. The building's peaked fabric roof isn't just eye-catching, it's mathematically modeled after the acoustic properties of Utah's natural rock formations. Stand beneath it and your whispers travel upward, colliding with descending echoes in midair to create an eerie choir effect. The architects didn't hide this quirk, they celebrated it, embedding the terminal floor with bronze medallions marking echo points where the phenomenon is strongest. It's more than a gimmick, it's proof that after centuries of forgetting, we're finally relearning how to build spaces that don't just look impressive but feel alive. This revival goes beyond airports. Concert halls from Oslo to Tokyo now incorporate acoustic shadows, inspired by Greek theaters, zones where reflected sound arrives milliseconds later than direct sound, creating immersive dimensionality. Urban planners study Roman cobblestone patterns to design pedestrian zones that naturally dampen traffic noise. Even smartphone apps use algorithms modeled on Maya ballcourt acoustics to help users find quiet in noisy cities. The past isn't just whispering to us, it's offering solutions. What makes these ancient soundscapes so vital today isn't their novelty, but their humanity. They remind us that before sound became background noise, it was a medium for connection, for meaning, for shaping how we think and who we are. In a world where earbuds isolate us in private sonic bubbles, these echoes from antiquity challenge us to listen differently, not just to the spaces around us, but to what those spaces are trying to say. The Getty Museum rises from the Los Angeles hills like a modern-day Roman forum, its travertine walls doing more than just evoke antiquity, they sing with it. Every curve of those pale stone surfaces was calculated using the same principles that made ancient amphitheaters acoustically flawless. Stand in the museum's central courtyard, murmur a word, and you'll hear something uncanny. Your voice doesn't just carry, it unfolds, each syllable lingering with the clarity of a stage whisper in Epidaurus. This isn't imitation, it's revelation. The architects didn't copy Roman blueprints, they reverse-engineered the physics behind them, discovering that the irregular pores in travertine naturally diffuse sound waves the way 2,000-year-old theater walls do. Across the Atlantic, Iceland's Harpa Concert Hall takes inspiration from even older Tudor's basalt lava columns formed 60 million years ago. The building's geometric glass facade isn't just visually stunning. Its hexagonal panels scatter sound precisely like the basalt formations at Renisjara Beach, where crashing waves transform into haunting harmonies. Step inside Harpa's main hall during a performance, and you're not just hearing music, you're standing inside a colossal instrument. The walls don't reflect sound uniformly, they sculpt it, bouncing cello notes along crystalline angles while vocals seem to hover midair like the resonant drones of Viking ceremonial halls. But the most profound application lies where you'd least expect it: hospital recovery rooms. At Stockholm's Karolinska Institute, neonatal units now feature ceilings embedded with ceramic vessels modeled after those found in Greek healing sanctuaries. These aren't decorative. When activated by subtle vibrations, they emit a steady 110 Hz hum, the same frequency that resonates in Malta's Hypogeum and has been clinically shown to lower cortisol levels in preterm infants by nearly 20%. Down the hall, post-operative patients rest in chambers with acoustic plaster walls, a modern reinvention of the porous lime mixtures Byzantine monks used to create perfect reverberation for chants. The results: faster healing times and reduced painkiller dependence, proving what ancient cultures knew instinctively: sound doesn't just enter our ears. It rewires our biology. This convergence of past and present isn't nostalgia, it's necessity. Modern architects face a paradox. Our buildings have never been more advanced, yet their acoustics often pale beside prehistoric caves or medieval cathedrals. The difference lies in intention. Ancient builders worked with sound as a fundamental material, like wood or stone, while we've treated it as an afterthought. That's changing, from Tokyo's underground shopping labyrinths employing Inca sonic zoning techniques to quiet noise pollution, to Berlin's new Parliament dome using Pythagorean ratios to ensure every debate is heard with perfect transparency. We're finally listening to history's whispers. The real breakthrough isn't in replicating these effects, but in understanding why they work. Advanced LiDAR scans of the Getty's walls reveal microscopic fissures that act like natural bass traps, taming low-frequency rumbles just as Roman engineers did unconsciously. Harpa's glass panels' sound diffusion patterns mirror the fractal geometry of Arctic ice formations, a phenomenon only quantum microphones can fully map. Even hospital resonance chambers leverage nanotechnology to amplify specific healing frequencies while canceling disruptive noises, a precision the Hypogeum's builders achieved through trial and error over generations. What emerges is a thrilling new discipline: archaeoacoustic engineering, where laser scans of ancient sites inform cutting-edge designs. Firms now employ sound archaeologists to analyze Neolithic tombs and Gothic choirs, translating their secrets into algorithms that shape everything from airport terminals to virtual reality soundscapes. The past isn't just inspiring us, it's debugging modern acoustics, revealing solutions hidden in plain hearing for millennia. As we stand on this threshold between antiquity and innovation, one truth echoes louder than all others: sound isn't just physics or art. It's memory. The same vibrations that once carried prayers to forgotten gods now help newborns thrive, connect distant voices in crystal clarity, and turn steel and glass towers into instruments. The stones have been speaking all along. We're finally learning to answer. Imagine strapping on a virtual reality headset and stepping into Rome at the height of its power, not just seeing the marble columns and bustling forums, but hearing the exact acoustics as they existed 2,000 years ago. This isn't science fiction. The Ancient Soundscape project is using laser scans, historical records, and advanced audio modeling to reconstruct entire cities' sonic fingerprints. One team recently recreated the acoustic shockwave of a gladiator's sword striking a shield in the Colosseum, revealing how the arena's sand-covered floor absorbed certain frequencies to prevent deafening echoes. Another group mapped the sound diffusion patterns of Pompeii's brothels, discovering how strategically placed curtains and water features masked private conversations. These virtual time machines aren't just for historians. Game designers are licensing the data to make historical settings feel unnervingly real, while urban planners study how ancient noise zoning techniques could quiet modern cities. The magic lies in the details. At the University of Bologna, researchers are baking replica Roman concrete in wood-fired kilns to test its legendary sound-dampening properties. Turns out the secret isn't just the volcanic ash. It's the irregular bubble structures formed by ancient mixing techniques, which scatter sound waves like a sponge. Modern contractors are already experimenting with this pumice concrete in concert halls and hospitals. Meanwhile, in Mexico, archaeologists are training AI to predict acoustic hotspots at unexplored Maya sites by analyzing drone footage of plaza dimensions and stone densities. One algorithm flagged a modest-looking platform at Calakmul as a potential resonance chamber. When excavated, it revealed hollow chambers that amplify whispers into drum-like booms. But the real revolution is how these discoveries are changing fieldwork. At Turkey's aphrodisias, archaeologists now conduct sound walks before digging, mapping how voices carry across untouched terrain to locate potential theaters or oracle chambers. In Scotland, teams use handheld spectrometers to analyze stone compositions on site, instantly identifying materials with resonant properties. Some forward-thinking digs even include acoustic stratigraphy, recording soil layers' sound conductivity to detect buried hollow spaces. It's a paradigm shift. Sound isn't just an artifact to study, it's a tool for discovery. Now for the thrilling part, you can experiment with these principles using nothing more than your smartphone and a cardboard tube. Find a curved surface in your home, a rounded wall, a large vase, even a shower stall. Press the tube against it while humming different notes. At certain pitches, you'll feel the vibration intensify dramatically. That's resonance frequency, the same phenomenon ancient builders harnessed. Try varying distances to experience how proximity alters sound reflection, just like in Maya ball courts. For bonus points, download a spectrogram app to visualize the frequencies bouncing back. Suddenly, your living room becomes a laboratory, proving these ancient techniques aren't locked in the past. They're waiting to be rediscovered wherever curious minds listen closely. Grab 2 salad bowls from your kitchen, yes, really, and face them toward each other about 10 feet apart. Now whisper into the curve of one bowl while a friend listens at the other. Congratulations, you've just built a working model of the famous whispering galleries found in ancient Roman structures and Victorian museums. Those curved surfaces catch your voice like a satellite dish, bouncing sound waves in a tight beam that defies normal acoustics. It's the same principle priests used in Mayan ball courts to send coded messages across sprawling plazas, their words traveling unseen along parallel walls. But why stop there? Rearrange your living room furniture into a semicircle, mimicking the stepped seating of a Greek Odeon. Stand at the focal point, maybe where your coffee table usually sits. and recite a line of poetry. You'll notice how the surrounding couches and bookshelves naturally amplify your voice while reducing echo, just as the limestone tiers did for Sophocles' actors. For an even more immersive experiment, download apps like Vox Reverb, which apply the exact reverberation patterns of legendary spaces to your voice in real time. Sing a note while selecting Hagia Sophia, and suddenly your shower acoustics transform into the cavernous resonance of Justinian's 6th century masterpiece, where chants once lingered for 11 seconds. These aren't just parlor tricks. When you physically recreate these setups, you're retracing the problem-solving steps of ancient engineers. That moment when you tilt the salad bowl slightly and the whisper suddenly cuts out. That's how builders discovered precise angles could control sound projection, the way your voice gains authority when standing between two tall bookcases. That's the sound lens effect Byzantine architects achieved with domed niches. Even simple experiments reveal sophisticated principles, like how scattering cushions around your makeshift Odeon mimics the Greek practice of embedding bronze vessels under seats to absorb excess bass. For a deeper dive, try this. Suspend a baking tray from strings at an angle, then tap it while moving a smartphone decibel meter around the room. You'll map how sound reflects differently at various points, just like archaeologists do with laser scanners in ancient theaters. Or tape a funnel to a cardboard tube and whisper into it toward a curved wall. Suddenly, you're testing the same acoustic focusing techniques used in Cappadocia's rock-cut churches. The thrill comes when theory becomes tangible, when you experience firsthand how a slight curve can hurl a whisper across a room, or how a circular arrangement of chairs makes every speaker feel heard. What's revelatory is how these low-tech methods outperform modern gear in some ways. Professional audio engineers were stunned to discover that Mayan sound mirrors, flat limestone slabs placed at specific angles, create clearer voice projection than digital amplifiers in windy conditions. Similarly, the nested ceramic pots Roman builders buried under amphitheaters still provide better echo reduction than many contemporary soundproofing materials. There's wisdom in these ancient workarounds, solutions born from observing nature rather than fighting physics. Now, imagine combining these rediscoveries. Arrange your salad bowl whispering gallery near a fan to simulate the wind channels of Chavín de Huántar. Use the Vox Reverb app to layer the Hypogeum's 110 Hz resonance over your homemade Odeon. Suddenly, your living room becomes a time machine, its acoustics humming with the collective ingenuity of civilizations separated by millennia. That's when the real magic happens, not just understanding ancient soundscapes, but feeling their power in your bones, just as the original audiences did. Which brings us to the most unsettling acoustic mystery ever uncovered, one that defies both ancient records and modern physics. Deep beneath a Scottish hillside, a Neolithic chamber echoes with a tone no human voice can produce. The Sahuite stone crouches in the Peruvian highlands like a silent sentinel, its surface carved with mysterious basins and channels that defy easy explanation. But lean close on a foggy morning, pour water into just the right groove, and something uncanny happens. The liquid doesn't just flow, it sings. The streams cascade through the stone's intricate pathways, producing rhythmic drips and gurgles that resonate at frequencies matching ancient Andean ceremonial drums. Archaeologists still debate whether this was hydraulic engineering or something more profound, a lithic oracle where priests conversed with the stone through liquid harmonics, interpreting its watery voice as divine guidance. Nearby, the ruins of Chavín de Huántar hold an even eerier secret. Conch shell trumpets found in its tunnels don't just mimic jaguar growls when blown. Played in specific underground chambers, their vibrations interact with hidden water channels to produce subsonic tones, frequencies below human hearing that nonetheless trigger instinctive dread in the gut. Was this accidental acoustics or deliberate psychoacoustic warfare? Then there's the Voynich manuscript, that cryptic 15th century puzzle book brimming with botanical oddities and celestial charts. Buried among its unreadable pages lies a section that's long baffled scholars, a sequence of looping lines and clustered dots, resembling nothing so much as sheet music for an alien orchestra. Cryptographers have tried decoding it as medieval notation, alchemical symbols, even star maps. But recent spectrographic analysis revealed something stranger. When the patterns are interpreted as sound waves, they produce a series of precise frequencies, the same tones that resonate most powerfully in Gothic cathedrals' choir loft. Coincidence or evidence of a lost tradition where architecture and music were inseparable? What ties these enigmas together is the recurring whisper of certain numbers. From Malta's Hypogeum to Scotland's Micho, the frequency 110 Hz pulses through sacred sites like a heartbeat. Modern labs confirm this tone triggers theta brainwaves, the state linked to vivid mental imagery and transcendent experiences. Even more puzzling are the global parallels. How did builders in Peru's Andes and Cambodia's jungles, separated by oceans and millennia, both construct echo mirrors that distort human speech into animal sounds? Why do Norse sagas describe singing stones with the same acoustic properties as Maori paw sites in New Zealand? Some mysteries may never yield answers. The acoustic levitation described in Tibetan texts and Herodotus histories, where teams of monks or priests allegedly moved massive blocks through coordinated chanting, defies physics as we know it. Yet experiments at Stanford have shown synchronized sound waves can suspend small objects in midair. Similarly, the humming statues of Egypt and Mesoamerica, said to emit tones when wind struck them just right, remain unverified, though recent 3D printing of scaled replicas has produced unsettling vocal effects. What's clear is that these phenomena weren't anomalies, but part of a sophisticated tapestry of sonic knowledge. The real question isn't just how did they do it, but why did this wisdom fade? Perhaps because sound leaves no fossils. Unlike pottery shards or carved pillars, vibrations vanish the moment they're born, taking their secrets with them. Yet, as we'll see next, engaging with these fragile echoes requires more than curiosity. It demands reverence, because the past isn't just speaking to us. It's trusting us to listen responsibly. The delicate balance between experiencing ancient acoustics and preserving them is more fragile than most realize. Every hand placed on the whispering walls of Malta's Hypogeum, every footstep echoing through the chambers of Chavín de Huántar, leaves an invisible mark not just on the stone, but on the very sound waves these spaces were designed to conduct. It's a paradox. The more we flock to these sites to hear their mysteries, the more we risk silencing them forever. Take the Oracle Chamber, where centuries of curious fingers touching its resonant niches have subtly smoothed the limestone, altering the precision of its 110 Hz hum. Even camera flashes, seemingly harmless, degrade pigments in painted chambers like Egypt's Tomb of Senefer, where vibrations interact with mineral layers to create unique acoustic effects. The stakes are higher than aesthetics. UNESCO now deploys sound-level monitors at sites like Epidaurus, where overcrowding during summer festivals pushes decibel levels beyond what ancient materials can sustainably bear. In Scotland's Micho, visitor numbers are strictly capped after sonar scans revealed that excessive vocal vibrations were causing microfractures in Neolithic stonework. But conservation isn't just about restrictions, it's about reimagining engagement. At Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, archaeologists have installed interactive sound posts where visitors can trigger recordings of the site's original acoustics without touching the stones. Meanwhile, Mexico's Teotihuacan employs silent disco headphones for night tours, letting guests experience the pyramid's eerie echoes without disturbing the fragile airspace where sound has traveled undisturbed for millennia. What's emerging is a new ethic of acoustic stewardship. Researchers now advocate for listening zones, areas where visitors can experience a site's sonic heritage through controlled simulations while preserving the original. The Lascaux Caves, closed to the public since 1963, offer a blueprint. An adjacent replica allows tourists to hear the astonishing reverberations that inspired Paleolithic artists, while the actual cave's microbial balance and its acoustics remain intact. Even small changes in visitor behavior make a difference. Guides at Newgrange now demonstrate the tomb's resonance by striking tuning forks instead of clapping, reducing vibrational stress on 5,000-year-old carvings. The question isn't whether we should listen to these echoes, but how we can ensure they keep echoing. Cutting-edge tools are bridging the gap between access and preservation. Laser vibrometry scans at Petra map how sound travels through its sandstone facades, creating digital twins that let researchers study acoustics without physical intrusion. In Peru, AI analyzes decades of crowd noise data from Machu Picchu to recommend optimal visiting hours that minimize acoustic wear. And at home, anyone can contribute. Apps like Heritage Soundscape crowdsource recordings from responsible visitors, building an archive of fading echoes before they vanish. This isn't just about protecting the past, it's about redefining our relationship with it. When we whisper in these ancient chambers today, we're not just hearing history. We're borrowing it, and like all precious things we borrow, the choice is ours, to grasp tightly and risk breaking, or to handle with care, ensuring the next generation can lean in and hear the stones speak just as clearly as we did. The greatest tribute we can offer these sonic time capsules isn't our wonder, it's our restraint. Now, as we stand at the crossroads of ancient wisdom and modern discovery, one truth resonates above all: these echoes aren't relics. They're living conversations between civilizations separated by time but united by their mastery of sound. And the final lesson they offer isn't carved in stone, it's carried on the air, waiting for us to listen deeply enough to understand. From the bone-shaking resonance of Malta's Hypogeum to the democratic clarity of Greece's amphitheaters, these ancient spaces weren't just buildings. They were living instruments, each note and echo a deliberate stroke in humanity's oldest symphony. What's astonishing isn't just their precision, but their purpose. These architects didn't merely want sound to travel, they wanted it to transform. A whisper became divine guidance, a chant turned into collective trance, a leader's voice morphed into thunder. They understood something we're only relearning today. Sound doesn't just reach our ears, it rewires our minds, bends our emotions, and stitches communities together. Consider the humility in that realization. Without oscilloscopes or acoustic software, these cultures mapped the invisible. They noticed how a curved wall could hurl a prayer farther than a shout, how limestone absorbed doubt while amplifying conviction, how the right frequency could make stone itself seem to breathe. And they embedded these secrets into their temples, theaters, and tombs, not as hidden knowledge but as shared inheritance. When you stand in the whispering gallery of St. Paul's Cathedral today, you're not just hearing a clever trick of physics, you're eavesdropping on a conversation that began millennia ago, when the first architect cupped hands around a mouth and realized sound could be shaped. This legacy isn't locked in the past, it pulses through our daily lives in ways we rarely notice. That moment when you pause mid-sentence in a tiled bathroom, startled by how your voice suddenly fills the space. That's the same awe a Neolithic priestess felt when her chant swelled in Malta's oracle chamber. The hush that falls over a crowded room when someone speaks just softly enough to make everyone lean in. That's the gravitational pull Greek orators harnessed in their amphitheaters. Even modern concert halls, with their algorithms and acoustic panels, are still chasing the perfection of Epidaurus, where a single unamplified voice could hold thousands spellbound. What these ancient soundscapes offer us isn't nostalgia, it's a mirror. In a world drowning in noise, where earbuds isolate us in private sonic bubbles and notifications fracture our attention, their approach feels radical. They crafted spaces where sound wasn't background static, but a sacred dialogue between speaker and listener, human and stone, earth and sky. To walk into the Hypogeum or Chavín de Huántar isn't to visit a museum. It's to step into a tuning fork still vibrating with intention, asking us the same question it asked millennia ago: what will you do with this power? That's why this journey matters. Every time we lean into an echo, test a whisper against curved walls, or marvel at how a chant lingers in a vaulted space, we're not just observing history. We're participating in it. The same physics that carried a senator's speech across Rome's forums still carries your voice across a canyon. The same resonance that made a Neolithic tomb hum still makes your shower concerts sound epic. The chain isn't broken, it's waiting for us to grasp it. So here's the invitation: listen differently. Press your palm against old stones and feel their vibration. Hum a note in a stairwell and hear how the space answers. These aren't just quirks of architecture, these handshakes across time, reminders that the past isn't dead. It's humming all around us, patient and persistent, waiting for the moment we finally tune in. The real magic begins when we stop just hearing history and start conversing with it.